Chapter 1. In the summer of 1518, the people of Strasbourg awoke one morning like any other. Only this morning they observed a lone person dancing in the town square. A villager named Frau Trophaea stepped into the town square and began to dance. We all dance for joy, for a good time in general. But for Trophaea, it was because she couldn't stop. Within days, dozens of neighbors and strangers joined in the delirium. Hundreds of people like Trophaea, moving as a collective entity, dancing hour after hour and day after day. They collapsed from exhaustion and then arose once more to dance as if they weren't in control. Strasbourg at the time was part of the Holy Roman Empire, and its people were struggling. Famines were common. Disease like dysentery, smallpox, and the plague were rampant. Many were just trying to survive day to day. Medieval Europe was filled with mystery, superstition, and corruption. The clergy flaunted their wealth while townsfolk starved. Famines and irregular weather patterns left people feeling desperate. Fear of disease kept them in anguish. So when Frau Trophaea began dancing uncontrollably, neighbors first thought it was just a personal affliction. But when she collapsed and then rose again to dance with frenzied abandon, her bruised and bloody feet told a different story. The clergy claimed that she had to calm this divine rage. So they shipped her away to a shrine in the Vosges Mountains, about 98 kilometers away. But she wasn't alone. 400 other people fell victim to the curse. The council erected a stage, hiring musicians to keep the afflicted dancing. They believed that the plague came from hot blood, and that sweating it out would cure them. They were wrong. Musicians and onlookers also fell subject to the madness, and medical attention did nothing. At the crescendo, the priests decided to act. The dancers received blessings, food, and fresh water, and sacred red shoes. And after, they began a pilgrimage to this monastery, a 9-hour walk from Strasbourg, through incense-filled air and grueling climbs. They believed faith and relics would lift the curse, and after the pilgrimage, the curse was lifted. The fungus Claviceps purpurea may have caused hallucinations. This fungus replaces kernels with dark, hard ergots, and contaminated bread or beer could trigger the madness. So the story starts to make sense. A villager consumes rye-based food or drink. The symptoms begin, and the dancing plague unfolds. The dancing plague of 1518 was not the only time in history that may have been shaped by a poisoned grain. In the Middle Ages, outbreak of St. Anthony's fire swept through the villages, where convulsions, hallucinations, and blackened limbs were all linked to ergot poisoning. During the Ninth Crusade, soldiers described as suffering from madness and violent convulsions, raising suspicions that contaminated grain fueled their delirium. In France, repeated epidemics between the 10th and 15th centuries saw monasteries dedicated to caring for victims of ergot poisoning, whose burning sensation gave the illness its infamous name, St. Anthony's fire. In 1692, the Salem witch trials may have been influenced by ergot-contaminated rye, with hallucinations and fits fueling hysteria that led to dozens of executions. In the 18th century France, food shortages combined with tainted bread may have worsened paranoia and unrest during the French Revolution itself. Let them eat cake, as Marie Antoinette once said. takes on a more sinister tone. The Dancing Plague of 1518, it shows how fragile human communities can be when faced with superstition, fear, or moldy bread. Strasbourg apparently had all three. If you enjoyed this and want to help the channel grow, leave a like so YouTube can share content like this with others. Subscribe if you'd like to watch more stories like this. Thanks for being here. Your curiosity is a gift.